Hey, it's Rich. I'm back on the street after a couple of months of not shooting any videos at all, and I'm out on the SYM Symba, which is the 100cc Honda Cub clone that I have, and this is just a short ride heading home from work to get reacclimated to the camera. This bike, the Symba, was actually out of service for a couple of weeks, more than a couple. I had trouble with the rear sprocket, which kept separating from the drive mechanism, and I eventually bought factory replacement bolts and factory replacement washers, and used a little bit of blue Loctite, and all those things together seem to have taken care of the problem. I've only ridden about 5 miles since making the repair, but things do seem to be holding together, which is good. The other thing that happened is that I had a flat tire, which is really annoying. I'd never had a flat tire on a motorbike before, and I mean, it's fine. It's easy enough to repair, but just the brute force required to get a tire off of a rim was something I wasn't used to. And I actually took the wheel to a motorcycle shop and asked if they could do the hard work for me, because I wasn't having any luck with my improvised tire lever. And they said, because these wheels are so small, it's these thin 17-inch wheels, that they weren't willing to work on it because they were afraid that they would bend the rim. So I ended up having to take it back home again and do it myself in the garage. I used a long screwdriver and the flat end of a 12mm wrench as pry bars, and between them, those two were sufficient to get the job done. But it took a lot of slow work to get it done. So this is the first day in ages that I've ridden this bike to work, and it's nice to be on it again. I'd forgotten how much fun it is to ride in the city, because it's got plenty of pickup to keep up with city traffic, but it's small enough to fit in almost any space, and in extreme moments can even be parked on the sidewalk. It's not legal to do that here, but it looks enough like an electric bicycle that it's generally left alone if you park it on the sidewalk. So the ride is fine on the new tire. I got thicker, well, it's not a new tire, it's a new tube. I got a thicker tube. I got the Kenda Tough tubes, which are meant for extreme applications, but are pretty good in the city. They've been recommended to me by other riders. You can see my left mirror keeps flipping around. I've got to tighten that nut, that bolt when I get home. I loosened it to reposition the mirror and forgot to retighten it. Now I'm feeling the effects of that. But it's a nice day to be out riding. In terms of other bike news, I have the Royal Enfield is still in for warranty service on the transmission. I should get it back in the next week or so. What I've been riding lately is the 20-year-old Honda Nighthawk, this 250cc bike, which is in very good shape and feels like it will run forever. It hasn't needed any attention since I bought it. I've ridden it a few hundred miles without any ill effects. I did change the oil, but that's about it. Heading through Sheridan Square. There across the street is the Stonewall Inn, where the gay rights movement began in the United States. about, was it 35 years ago, something like that. I'm feeling that I may want to tighten my rear brake rod a little bit. There's a little more play in the brake lever than I would like. So one thing that has happened since the last time I vlogged is that the New York City Police Department, the NYPD, has gotten a lot stricter about motorcycle parking enforcement. There's a de facto social contract here in New York City whereby if you're a motorcycle rider and you don't park like an asshole, the city will leave you alone and will look away from routine parking violations like overstaying a meter, or even parking in no parking zones, as long as you're fundamentally parking respectfully. You're keeping the bike out of the way, not taking up more than your share of space. They like it when you park at the ends of blocks and so forth. So that contract is still in force, but the city has started enforcing the law requiring motorcyclists to display their license plates. Because one trick, and I've talked about this before, one trick that a lot of people here in New York City use to avoid being cited for parking violations is they pull their plates out when they park. So the officer has to cite you via the VIN number, which is more prone to error and more time consuming for them, and they don't like to do it. So people slide their plates out, and I do this. I've done this myself. But the city has begun impounding motorcycles that are parked on the public streets without license plates displayed, regardless of anything else. So even if you're parked legally, they tow your bike away. They actually haul it away on a flatbed truck to the tow pound. And this is happening a lot in the neighborhood, the Flatiron neighborhood where I work and where I park during the day. So I have stopped pulling my plate entirely in New York City, and instead am relying on the goodwill of the parking, the parking police to use their discretion not to ticket me. And in fact, that does tend to work. I've had several violations dismissed when I appeal them with evidence that I parked politely and at the end of a block and didn't prevent other people from using the space. And most days I'm left alone. I get, where I work, I get maybe one citation every 10 days, and most of those get dismissed. So that's nice. I also got a little sign made near where for when I park near where I work that says, "Please don't ticket me. I work here and I park politely." And I always do park in a place where my bike is protected. It's up against some sort of barrier or something, so that it's clear that I'm not using more than my share of space. And that seems to work. That seems to help minimize the amount of hassle that I get from the parking officers. This does seem to be driving okay. There's a little more rattle and squeak than I would like, but it is a 5-year-old bike that has not been well maintained for most of its life. So I mean, the engine is fine. It's the suspension and physical infrastructure of the bike that's got the trouble.
Hmm.